Hello and welcome to a new video in the chapter of plants. This is the second video, which is still about section 5.1. We zoom on to leaves now. Leaves are like cities, and I've opened this webpage where you can see that an artist really took that into perspective, where he puts Austin and Boston and Brooklyn and Chicago into a leaf kind of structure. And it's not such a very strange idea, because there's a big road coming here, which is like the highway, right? And it branches off into little end roads and smaller roads, which go to all different kinds of places in the city. Well, you can imagine that a real leaf, so this is a picture of a real leaf, with a little pinpointer from Google Maps, that a real leaf looks a bit like a city map. See, we have a highway here, which is called the midrib or the mid-vein. And here's another highway, another mid-vein, and you see that there's another big road coming off here, another big road here, and we call those the lateral veins, the lateral or the lateral veins. So those veins are the veins which come from the big mid-rib. And when this is the highway, then these are the end roads, the endwegen in Dutch. And you see that those are connected to each other, and they connect to another highway. So connected to those lateral veins, there are those really tiny veins here, and we call them the sublateral veins. So sub means below, and that will be the streets, right? So inside these street blocks, you see there are even smaller streets and paths, and between them there's all that dark green mesh. And the dark green mesh is in a city that will be the houses or the factories or the shops or so. Leaf cities are huge production facilities. So here's another one. In a city, there will be different regions in the city, right? So there's a river here, and there's a highway, and there's some house blocks and some production units and some shops and offices, right? Well, a leaf is all production facility. And already told you that they have those big veins, the midrib vein and the lateral veins and the sublateral veins. In those veins, there are two kind of roads. There is a road which transports stuff that the plant itself makes, and there is a road which transports stuff that the plant gets from the environment, right? So the road which transport the stuff that the plant itself makes is called phloem. 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 Phloem, the stuff is created in leaves and is sent back to the phloem to the rest of the plant. There's also stuff which comes from the environment, like water. Water comes from the soil, right? Where you water a plant. And then in the roots, there are tiny root hairs, and they take up the water, and they transport that through the xylem. Xylem is spelled like Xylem. Xylem. And the xylem vessels, they bring the water up to the leaves or wherever it's needed, right? So they take also other minerals from the soil, and they transport it all through the xylem. Okay, so I told you that leaves are like production units, right? They are producing a lot of things. And the thing they mostly produce is food. So they're food machines. They produce glucose. Glucose is a form of a sugar. And in order to produce that, they need a few things. They need water, so they get it from the xylem vessels. The xylem vessels bring the water. They need a few minerals. That's okay. They need a gas, which is called carbon dioxide. You've heard of that gas, probably. CO2 is the word, is the chemical name. And CO2 and water together, they can form something out of that. And they need one extra main ingredient. Can you imagine what it is? It's light, sunlight. You know this, right? So plants need light to grow. Light, water, carbon dioxide. Those three ingredients. You give it to a leaf, and in the leaf, the cells in the leaf are going to do a magic trick with it and produce sugar, glucose. They also got some waste, and the waste is oxygen. So oxygen is very important for us, right? But it's waste for the plant, so it throws it out. But it keeps the glucose. It keeps the sugar which it produces and brings it to the fruit or to the rest of the plant, everywhere where it's needed. Well, okay. Now let's zoom in a bit more on a leaf. So look at this. I'm not actually sure if you can see it right now, so I'll do it like this. I hope you can see it now. Yes, I think. So this is a leaf, and this is the cross section of a leaf. So you can see the leaf right here, right? So this is this tiny part of the leaf. Can I show you? Yeah. So this tiny part. So see, there's a little square taken out of the leaf, and that tiny part is now shown here. So I told you about this highway, right? So this is the highway. It's coming into the leaf. And see, it has xylem here and phloem. Remember, xylem is to bring water from the roots and minerals to the leaf. And there's the phloem, which takes away the good stuff, the glucose. So you see a lot of different kinds of cells here. So there are those phloem cells, which are tubes, the xylem cells, which are tube for transport. And another thing we see here are those cells which are really tall. See them? Those are called Palisade cells. And Palisade means something like a palisade or a high thing or a pole or something. So they look like a pole, right? And so the Palisade cells, and there are some other cells here, which is called are spongy cells. Spongy cells are squishy, and there's a lot of room in between. And when we go even down, we also see that are these cells. It says the words guard cells, but these are stomata. So stomata are like mouths, and mouths can open, blah, and can close. If they're closed, nothing can go in or out. And when they open, things can go in and out. What goes in and out? Well, air goes in and out. Air, you say? Yeah, air. So in the air is carbon dioxide, CO2, remember? That's what plants need. That's what the Palisade cells need. And out goes oxygen. So we breathe in oxygen for our bodies and breathe out carbon dioxide. But plants do it the other way around. They breathe in carbon dioxide and they let out oxygen. Okay. So, and there's also another cell, type of cell here, which is totally on top of it. Those are called the epidermis cell. Epidermal cells are cells which protect it. See, there's also a layer of epidermis cells underneath it. So inside the epidermis cells, there are the stomata, right? Those are those guard cells around the stomata. Right. So now we zoom in even more, and we zoom in on the cell itself. Therefore, I have to navigate, and I have to navigate to page 101. You see, this book has a lot of pages about biology. Luckily, it's not all for you. And here we are. So, this is a cell, and you might remember from cell, you might remember that we discussed it earlier. Remember? I said we have the cell wall and the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, the chloroplast, maybe even the mitochondrion, and of course the best one of it all, the vacuole. Yeah, all right. So we're going to talk about it again. And now in special regard to plant cells and how these Palisade cells work, and why they're actually like factories. Those factories are controlled by this purple one. The purple one is the nucleus. Inside is the DNA, and it controls how the cell works, right? There is also a division in the cell, which is like the purchase and the sell department. So they purchase things, right? They purchase carbon dioxide, and they purchase water, and they get it in, and then they sell glucose and oxygen, right? They get it out. So you can also say it's the customs, right? This part, but you can also say it's the purchase and the sell department. That is, of course, the cell membrane. And the cell membrane is the very thin layer. All right. So then we have the production units itself. you can recognize them with all those green pancakes in them. They are called chloroplasts. And chloroplasts, they are the factories where they produce the sugar. So they will consume all the carbon dioxide and all the water and take up the light from the sun, and then will produce glucose and oxygen. The glucose then is sent out into the phloem to be used somewhere else in the plant, and the oxygen is waste, which is taken out through the cell membrane, through the stomata. Okay, so in order to keep this factory upright, you also need some construction, and the construction sturdiness comes from either the cell wall, and here it is, the vacuole, right? The vacuole is full of water, and it's rigid and turgid, and it keeps the cell on pressure, right? Okay, so for internal transport, there's this cytoskeleton, or the cytoplasm, you could say, right? In your book is only cytoplasm. Here you can see it's actually cytoskeleton with microtubules, right? It's microtunnels where the glucose, the carbon dioxide, the oxygen, everything is transported. Yeah, right. Okay, so those filled up vacuoles, they keep the plant upright in plants which do not have any wood. Right. So those plants are called herbaceous plants, or in Dutch, kruidachtige planten. So they need water to stay healthy and to stay upright. Woody plants, on the other hand, they have old xylem cells and old phloem cells, which become very hard, which become wood, and they keep the plant upright even if they have no water. So trees and bushes, they have wood, and therefore woody plants, and all the other plants, they are called herbaceous plants. And herbaceous plants, they need water. So you have to water them, because otherwise they will hang and they're not healthy anymore. Okay. So with this information, you will be able to fill out questions 3 till 12. And questions 3 till 12, you can find them in your workbook, page 55 until page 57. Okay, so all the information I just taught is also in your book at section 5.1, starting at page 122. Okay, so I thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you in real life in 2 weeks. And otherwise, we see each other next week in the online lesson. So thank you for your attention, and bye-bye.